make it happen. Andrea Peters had to figure out, having a full-time job in the US military, how to change the whole system. And she put the time aside and she dedicated it in a way that she pulled off both. Now, Carli? Andrew? So Carli, tell everybody what you do here in town.
Hi, I'm Carli Sapir. I run a venture capital fund called Amboy Street Ventures, and we're a $20 million fund focused on progressing the women's health and sexual health space.
Okay. Andrew?
Hey, I'm Andrew Perez, and I run and founded High Point Cider with my brother. We don't do anything as cool as that, but we make apple juice for adults and give people a sense of community.
Okay, now, he sits where everybody in the room sits, right? Because she says that, and you're like, ooh, that's really purposeful. Wow, that's amazing. Oh, gosh. And then he says, oh, okay, I kind of, I'm the cider guy. Our identities so much are defined on our perception of what purpose is, what success is, what good is, what's like higher, whatever. Purpose doesn't care about any of that. Okay, purpose cares about what is the voice in you that's seeing something to you that isn't about someone else's. So, Andrew, tell me about your previous career.
Which one?
The one that you really had a great time at in New York.
Yeah, for sure. So once upon a time, I used to be a biochemist, and then I got a call from someone I used to work with who was at a management consulting firm. And she said, hey, I think you'd be really good at this, blah, blah, blah. I did an interview, and I was like, oh, boy, that's a lot of money. And that sounds pretty fun. And then fast forward like 3 years later, right, it was multiple red eyes a week. It was bouncing around and basically just trying to figure out how to make pharmaceutical companies more money. And that was pretty soul-crushing because we'd seem to kind of get away from the values of, oh, we're improving patient outcomes and we're helping to, well, now this is just very extractive. And 3 years ago, I didn't know what management consulting was. And then 3 years later, it's like, this is exactly everything I hate in the world.
Okay. So he may not know what his purpose is, but his purpose is speaking to him and saying, why are you wasting your life energy on this shit? Okay? You know, in some sense, purpose isn't about nice stuff. Purpose is like it's going to rip out and say, sorry, no, you're not going to go make all this money and do all this stuff. You need to go do something else. Now, there's a lot of people who sell cider in the world, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, and if I taste other people's cider and taste test it against yours, yours is going to taste better, right?
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, don't believe it. I don't believe you. But the question then becomes is what is the one or two things only he can do? What is it he's doing that what is it he sees that others don't see? So what are you guys doing that's not just about cider?
Yeah, no, we talked like last week or 2 weeks ago, and I've been thinking about this a lot. And to me, it really comes down to it's the people and it's fostering a sense of community. And you know, we've talked about the macro and the micro, and I don't think there's a lot of paradoxes within that, right? So it's how can we at High Point create and foster a culture before we even hit customers that our employees feel inspired, that they feel safe, that they can be themselves so that they can be their best selves, and then forwarding that onto the tap room or community in a can, or if you're in Denver, what are you doing with our cider? It's making a space where anyone is welcome to be who they are, and that inherently has challenges with it. You know, trust, empathy, these are all nice values, but in the day-to-day, they're really hard to maintain because if Steve or someone kicks a valve off a tank, it's pretty hard not to just be frustrated.
When you kick a valve off the tank, does a lot of cider come out?
Sure does.
Okay, just checking. Okay, the visuals, I'm thinking of the visuals of that, okay.
Yeah, it's, you know, parting of the Red Sea, but with cider.
Okay, so now, here's the thing. Truth of the matter is, he's like, this is, okay, I'm gonna push you. It's like, sounds interesting, but who here has gone to his place? Why do you go? What is it about his place that's different? What does that mean? What does that word mean to you? What is it you experience there that you don't experience in all the other places that sell cider or beer?
People walk in and sit down and grab a board game, play games.
Okay, what else?
Support local musicians.
Okay, what else?
Connection.
And so how do you feel that connection? Yeah. How do you feel it? You said the word. What is that? How do you know, it's like, do you walk in and there's this big word that says connection on the wall and says, well, I feel connected to everybody here. I don't think so. In your heart. It's the intangible that's the most tangible thing about anything we do is how do you feel when you're around someone? In some sense, what you're feeling is his purpose. Now, he gives us this mumbo-jumbo answer, right, where I'm like, okay, really? That is not what causes the magic to happen. What causes the magic to happen is what's inside of his heart and his soul and his purpose. And it gets expressed by all those things, and we come up with all these lists. But the truth of the matter is if he wasn't there, you wouldn't feel connection and community. Okay, now the two of them, you and your brother gets credit for this as well. The two of them together have to truly be brothers in the good way. Yes? I'm sure there's times when you're not. But the point of the matter is, I can't imagine that look. But the point of the matter is here's a guy who creates community and also happens to use cider as the means by which everybody shows up. Yeah? And so when you really create community, how does it make you feel?
I mean, it's good, it's wholesome, it gives a warm, kind of fuzzy feeling inside, and it's also can be kind of tenuous too, because? I don't ever want to take it for granted. And I think it's the specter of loss that kind of provides and drives value to that.
So you might all just go fall apart, and you might
It might. I mean, it can take form in a lot of ways. Trust, if we erode that or something, or if someone has a bad experience, it's tenuous, right?
Okay, I haven't drunk some of your cider. I can't imagine anyone being upset, so. But here's my question. What excites you and scares you right now?
I mean, the exciting part is, I think, right, having worked in very extractive kind of industries, it's taking that culture top down and making sure that our employees feel it, making sure that our customers feel it. Because at the end of the day, I have to work at High Point Cider, and I've worked at a lot of places that I did not enjoy working, and I very much want to continue to enjoy showing up to work at High Point Cider. And I want that to happen for my employees, for customers, et cetera. Coming back to the specter of loss, right? If you're building this environment where trust is implicit and we're not making judgments and we're not operating on kind of those default settings, we're being a little more aware of how we're interacting. One, it's not the default state, so it's hard to maintain. And two, people don't always understand it. And if people don't understand it, they're going to be critical of it, which is fine, but they'll also try to take it away.
So you have to always show up.
Yeah.
Now, I noticed today you have extra powers. The socks. Everybody? Can you guys see the socks? I mean, these, I don't know about you. If I wear socks like that, I'd be totally into connection, right? So I love those socks. Thank you so much. So once again, I go to the UK, and in the UK, everybody has to wear a uniform, and what you'll find is everybody has crazy socks on because it's the only part of them that's their own personality. Right? But this is like you on steroids, yes?
They even match, too.
And so have they had any cider yet?
Sorry?
Have they had any cider yet, or is this before cider?
This is before cider.
Oh, my God. Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Carli? So, what's the one or two things only you can do?
I was thinking about this morning, and I was like, only I can touch my dog's food bowls. Anyone else might get attacked. But with work, I'd say, as a venture capital fund, only 2% of founding partners of venture funds are women, and 98% are men. And so that really dictates how venture funds are structured and what they're focused on. We focus on women's health and sexual health, and we're one of the very few funds that do that. And I think it's really the nature of my demographic, and it's not just that only I could do this, but I think because I'm unique in this field, it does provide a unique focus for our fund too.
So One of the interesting things, though, is as you and I talked, we also talked about the fact that the reason you're in this is you have a personal experience of the challenges of not having the world take care of that journey, yes? So it's not just an idea. It's something deeply that matters to you. And in some ways, when you decided to do this, I'm sure the whole world said, this is a great idea, yes?
No.
No? What did the world say?
At the time when I decided to quit and start this, I was in private equity. I had a pretty lofty future in that field, and so quitting to try to raise a fund in a space where I had private equity experience, I didn't have venture experience, to invest in things that most investors don't invest in or don't want to invest in, didn't sound like a good idea to anyone.
And why did you do it then?
I saw opportunity. I mean, these companies that we invest in are underfunded, so they're also undervalued, and so it's a really good place to not only get returns, but also be able to spend my days looking into companies that I feel connected to and supporting companies that I think will change the world for the better. So it was something I wanted to dedicate my time to, and I was really fortunate on the journey to get surrounded by people that did think it was a good idea and back the fund, and we have a great community of aligned people now supporting it.
It's beautiful because in some sense, here's two people, and Carli, with you, it's not like this wasn't something that other people could see, right? It was there. But she's the only one who actually saw it enough, and her purpose doesn't give her a choice, and she had to go jump into it. Okay, purpose at some point says, we're done with you like doing other things. We're gonna make it so boring for what you're doing that you're just gonna have to just jump in. Both of them could have been making a lot more money working for some of these other things, other entities, and they're both sitting here because the deeper purpose inside them wouldn't let them do that, right? So purpose doesn't make it easy. It's gonna break the old map. It's gonna force you, both of them are map making. Okay, both of them are creating something that hasn't existed before, which means there is no map. The good news is they get to create it. The bad news is it's a little scary because, oh my God, it's not like it doesn't come without risk, right? So what is it that excites you and scares you a little bit, Carli?
Well, I have a goal to manage $1 billion that's investing in gender equality. And I mean, just even the start, the 20 million was not easy. And so it excites me, and I'm excited to dedicate my career to this, but it's definitely terrifying.
Very terrifying, right? So once again, it's like purpose will get you to make goals and pick things that aren't linear, they don't fit in a box. If it fits in a box, it's on the map. For every one of us, the question is what is it that you need to step into? How do you answer these three questions? What is it for each of you? What's the one or two things that says, the challenge is to write down the answer that you're scared to write down. The good news is you can write it down. So I'm asking you to just write down whatever is coming through right now as to what's the one or two things only you can do. And you might say, wait a minute, that's not me. That's okay. These guys had that conversation inside their heads at some point. What is it that really excites you and scares you a little bit? What is it that really excites you and scares you a little bit? That's like, ooh, now that's a little scary. I'm not asking you to go out tomorrow and execute on all of it and quit your job, right? Although if some of you, if that has happened, it's okay. But all I'm saying is I want you to tell the truth to yourself as to how would you answer these questions. This is the place purpose. You have to have, purpose has to be working through you for you to take these on. Normal, following the map will not do. What these two have done, for the most part, isn't incremental, right? And I'm sure they wake up days and going, what the hell was I doing, yeah? Especially when somebody breaks the spigot and there's stuff going all over the place, right? That's when you have to have a party right there. Okay. So I want to thank you guys for being up here. Thank you. Thank them.
Thank you.
Thanks. You're so welcome. So what I want to do now is have you pair up and see what you've come up with. What have you come up with? And if you haven't come up with it, pair up with someone and see what you discover. Okay? How are you answering these questions? So pair up, go. Hey, yeah, so I might be 5-10 minutes late. Over. Grab Tom. Is this working? Okay. Finish up where you are. This is the hard part. Okay. This is so hard. You're having so much fun. This is great. I love it when nobody wants to come back. Okay. We're going to give you some more time today. We're not done. So, welcome back. Okay, you can feel the energy in the room, yes? Feels good? Okay. So I'd love to hear from a couple of you what you're discovering. So who would like to share? Who's willing to share with us what they've come up with? Now the power of sharing it is it becomes more possible that it will happen. The research shows when you actually say something in public that it dramatically increases the probability of it actually occurring. Okay, can we get her the box? Somebody? There's the box over here. Somebody has to pick it up and carry it. There we go. It doesn't walk by itself. And the last time I checked, we haven't gotten that version of technology to work yet. Exactly. Right there.
So I guess what I discovered is the one thing that only I can do is I work for a nonprofit. I'm the only one who can actually care this much to spend so much time on it without really necessarily seeing the reward immediately.
That's beautiful. That's called purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah? Thank you. Thank you. And so what is the nonprofit?
It's a wildlife rehabilitation center.
Okay. It's very important that you're there.
Yeah.
Very important that you're there. Thank you. Over here. Notice how that feels. Yeah?
Hello.
Hello.
I just have a question on how to motivate others when to the level that you are motivated. I care for my new company, and I wish that the volunteers who come to me, I thought, okay, well, they're coming to me, they're very excited, they like the purpose,
Yep.
but I think then it's just more like a fantasy of working in this type of business, and then suddenly all the energy and magic that I see is like withdraw, it's not there, and I don't know how to
Yep.
make inspiring them.
So you can't. They have to inspire themselves. My invitation to you is to sit down with them and have them answer these three questions. Because the reason they're volunteering is that there's something they get from volunteering that they don't get from their day job. And you have to find out exactly what that is and help them bring that to what they're doing. Behind you. Carrie? There's a woman right back here. Because that's the question. It's like, what I know is you can't bring meaning to other people. They have to get it themselves, and they have to sit in the question. Yeah? And these questions, especially for volunteers, really defines why are you here? Right? In the back.
The question I have, or the thing I'm thinking about, is really on the question of what scares you. And
Yeah.
what scares me is I feel connected to my purpose and am one of the people that cares about it the most. I love that answer. Will it be enough? Like, will the change that we want to make and the impact that we want to make be enough?
You know what? The real answer is it never will be. The good news is that means that you just have to keep being bigger and bigger. Do you know what I'm saying? Because if it's enough, it's a goal. Purpose isn't about a goal. Purpose is about, okay, what if we kept going? The Muries never probably ever felt like they achieved anything. They were always working on the next thing. Right? And when they passed away, they still had other projects that they wanted to do. That's called purpose. So that hunger that you're talking about is what purpose really feels like. Because it's always going, really? Come on. I mean, it does that to me sometimes, and I'm like, good God, can we just take a break? Right? And I'm on vacation with my kids, and all of a sudden I start having this dialogue with the waitress, and I start figuring out their purpose, and they're like, Dad, can you like stop doing this? And it's like, oh shit, I'm doing it again. Right? Who else? Want to put it on the table, right here.
I'd like to just share, start at the 3. What do you need to do less of to create more time to make it happen? I've been energy healer and sound healer for many years, and 6 weeks ago, I stopped drinking. The second I stopped drinking, it was amazing the amount of time and space that opened up. And I'd known that in order to really step into my deepest purpose, I had to take 1 foot out of one way. I had both feet in, I was playing that game. And so that was, and the adventures and what excites me is just all the possibility that space created, that opened up for me to really do the one or two things that only I can do.
Beautiful. Now that sort of edginess that we're, purpose, now we're in the land that purpose resides, which is really, it's going to push you. And it will continue pushing you. So here's my invitation to all of you is we're here for the rest of the day. Anybody who wants to talk about anything they've come up with, I'm going to be around. We're going to be talking about it. I have a final gift for you. If I look at this place, it reminds me of another place that I've been. This is my view at 2 a.m. in Iceland. It's like right out of Lord of the Rings. I'm like, oh my God, this is... And they don't just have a weather report, they always have a lava report every day as well. And you're like, oh, this is incredible. I was there in January, they had 80-mile-an-hour winds, and they were like, oh, I guess the world comes in. They're like, we're going to go do everything we were supposed to do. And I'm like, holy cow, these people are crazy. It's like the environment is in your face all the time. Okay? They take me wild Atlantic salmon fishing. Okay, it was one of the most amazing, crazy things. I caught a salmon. It was the best sashimi I've ever had in my life. Seriously, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. We eat until like midnight every night. These people are really crazy. But the truth is that whole experience would not exist if it wasn't for one person. You see, it turns out that the Atlantic salmon were all were going extinct. And the only reason that I got to do that was because one man in the 80s who happened to own the Toyota dealership in Iceland and made Icelandic vodka decided that he was not going to have the same thing happen to the Atlantic salmon that happened to the herring. One person raised over $50 million. He talked to all 1,500 of the 1,700 fishing families across all the northern Atlantic and sat down and talked with each one of them to convince them that it was time to make a transition to a world that we could all live in. Now, for me, this is about purpose, environment, and money, and everything that you need to do. Okay? So, Andrew, you're in good standing. He sold vodka, you sell cider. There's no reason why this can't be you someday. You ready?
Wild salmon is just like children. We send them away, they go, they educate, they grow, and they achieve something, and then finally they come back home and we celebrate with them. They fulfill our wishes for the future generations.
When it comes to salmon, this world has a strange way of showing its love. Instead of being celebrated as the king of fish, wild salmon are struggling to simply survive in the face of industrial harvesting, wide-scale damming of rivers, and a host of man-made environmental challenges. But there is hope, and that hope is the work of the North Atlantic Salmon Fund.
My name is Orri Vigfússon. In 1989, I set up the North Atlantic Salmon Fund, an organization dedicated to saving and reintroducing wild Atlantic salmon. And I have been working on salmon conservation and restoration for the last 26 years.
As a boy growing up in Iceland, Orri was confronted by the economic and social devastation caused by the staggering crash of North Atlantic herring stocks. Orri was determined not to let the same fate befall the king of fish.
In the early 1960s, the herring disappeared, more or less. We greatly overfished the stocks of the herring, so there was no more herring. That really was the basis why I decided back in 1989, when we saw the salmon stocks withering away, slowly disappearing, and we had to do something about it. Otherwise, it would be gone just like the herring.
You see, Orri and the NASF have an uphill battle. Atlantic salmon have been written off as a lost cause. Governmental actions seem to be too little and too late, and a host of other problems too overwhelming to ever fix. But the NASF offers real solutions to complex problems. To start with, the fund continues to broker agreements to buy out salmon netting operations in the North Atlantic. From the first agreement with the Faroe Islands in 1991, and then on to Greenland, Iceland, Wales, Ireland, and Scotland. These negotiations yield real results while offering alternative employment to salmon fishermen. All the while, in excess of 10 million salmon have been saved from net and longline fisheries throughout the North Atlantic region. Kate's salmon farming is notorious for creating sea lice, a small but deadly creature that is proven to decimate salmon roes. The NASF seeks to push salmon farming to land-based operations to preserve habitat for migrating wild salmon. From all that's done, it's easy to see why Orri is known as the godfather to the salmon.
We do not believe in any bullshit. We have to be focused, right, this is where we want to go. I think if we succeed in most of these projects, that the salmon recovery will take place.
Okay, thank you. Every time I watch it, I want to cry. Because I've been there and I'm like, God, it's so beautiful. And it could have been gone. But one person changed it. The truth is that one person that's going to change this place is in this room. The next Orri is sitting here, right here, and it's up to you to step into listening to the purpose of this place and your purpose, just like he did, and do what no one else has ever done before. He created, listen, all you have to deal with is the county. He had to deal with 4 countries. It was not going to stop him. He had to deal with crazy fishermen who wanted to kill him. Okay, they really had knives. Okay, and he convinced them that this was a path in which they could go on to a different career and that they could save the salmon, they could save the soul of the place. When you're in Iceland, going salmon fishing is a rite of passage as a boy. It would be gone. So I can't think of a better metaphor and opportunity to kick your ass and say, come on, let's do this thing. If a guy who sold vodka and Toyotas can pull this off, look at what you can do. Yes? So thank you for giving me the opportunity to spend time with you today.